Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to depending on where you are in the world to everyone. Welcome to Teacher Horizons Community Connect webinar. Thanks a lot for joining us today. We know that you have a lot of other things going on, so we appreciate it, and we hope that you will have some valuable takeaways from today's session. So our Community Connect webinar today is about unlocking global opportunities with the right teaching qualifications. So a lot of the focus will be on QTS and the right teaching qualifications to either start or grow in your existing international teaching career. And we're really excited because we have special partners today and special speakers with us, and they are from Educators Abroad. They will introduce themselves properly in a little bit. And before we start, just quick reminders for people who just joined, logistical things. Please keep yourselves on mute at all times because it's very important for us to listen to the speakers properly. And there will be time for questions and answers later, and also a little bit of time for breakout rooms because I know that our community really likes that. Also, try to keep your cameras on. It helps us see you and the feeling of connection, which is what we value a lot. From here onwards, I'm going to pass it out to Fiona, who will share with you what we're doing next.
Thanks, Kavi. Okay, so hi everyone. It's lovely to have you all here. Just before we get started with the webinar, we have a little prompt at the bottom of the slide, which is asking what inspired you to pursue teaching. So it would be really amazing if you could start writing some of your answers in the chat box so that we can have an idea and see what inspired you to get into this career. So whenever you're ready, you can just, it doesn't have to be very long. It can just be a few short words into the chat box so we can share some ideas.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. And in the meanwhile, I forgot to introduce myself. I generally tend to do that. My name is Kavi, and I'm the Director of Community Growth at Teacher Horizons. And Fiona, my colleague here, is co-hosting, and she's the Community Growth Coordinator.
Thanks, Kavi. Okay, we have so many amazing ideas coming through already. So to feel like I was contributing something positive to the people, making a difference, lots of really good points. A lot of people decide to get into teaching because it's very rewarding and we feel like we're giving back and making a difference in children's lives. Um, to touch and inspire lives, really amazing. And we have some people that grew up in family of teachers, so maybe you've been inspired by those around you. A lot of really amazing ideas coming through. Love of music. Yep. So if you're very passionate about what you're teaching, it really makes a difference as well. And even for traveling, yes, that's amazing. So of course, at Teacher Horizons, one of the main things that we like to encourage is for people to travel and explore new places. And teaching is a career that allows you to do that. So it's really, really great to see so many ideas.
I also saw one about having a different purpose, like getting a visa while living in Asia and then ending up enjoying it. So that too, we start with a different purpose, but end up enjoying it so much that we love it and we want to continue to pursue it, which is great as well.
Of course. Yes, we have lots of amazing ideas here. And especially I like the ones that where they have been inspired by teachers themselves. So thank you so much, everyone, for contributing. I think we will just stop this there and then we can pass over to educators abroad so that they can introduce themselves and they will take it from here.
The Director of Educators Abroad since 2022. I am an AOQTS graduate of Educators Abroad. And once I had obtained, I was sort of about 6 years into my 21-year international teaching career. And then after having obtained QTS, progressed into middle leadership roles and then senior leadership roles. And I was able to work in Asia, Africa, Europe, the UK, and it had been and continues to be in different work that I do a fantastic journey. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here today with you to be able to share information about the program and the different approaches towards gaining your QTS, particularly AOQTS assessment only.
Hello, I'm Lindsay, Lindsay West. I've been a teacher for 37 years and I'm now a retired primary head teacher and education consultant. Since retiring from headship, I live in the UK, but I've led CPD webinars on Ofsted deep dives. That's our inspection body. And I'm one of the directors of the AOQTS programme for Educators Abroad.
So we are going to be looking at why the assessment-only route and why gain QTS. And having some knowledge of our participants, we know that you are all experienced teachers, which means you've already been teaching, but that you may not already have an internationally recognized teaching qualification. And QTS, the Department for Education England qualification, is recognized globally. So we're going to talk to you about the route to getting it. We're also going to discuss with you, there are lots of other programs, there are lots of other approaches, and just try to help you to understand the differences and to eventually decide what is the best pathway for yourselves. Okay. So we will be looking at today, we're going to just show you a little video, a little bit more about Educators Abroad and who we are. And you've met our team, which Lindsay West and myself, but this is also a wonderful colleague called John Manning, who's our Director of Admissions, whom if you decide to find out more from us, you will also be liaising with John. We're going to be looking at why being fully qualified is so important, what QTS is, and what the differences are between the various approaches. There's lots of acronyms there, as you can see, and we're going to try to help clarify for you what the differences are and which the best approach you can decide may be for you. We're going to go into more detail about our assessment route only support program, talk about some FAQs that we're asked very frequently, which I'm sure you'll be thinking as we go through the presentation, and then share with you some stories from graduates of ours. Right, so we can just show. I can't hear it.
Sorry about that. I'll try maybe like play it this way.
Sorry.
Educators Abroad provides teachers worldwide access to a personalized, school-based support program, an assessment-only pathway, leading to the Department for Education in England qualified teacher status through a portfolio development and assessment process as they teach. We have over 150 partner schools, a 100% pass rate, and a presence in 50 countries. We can work with your school to integrate the AOQTS into your CPD program to ensure alignment with global teaching standards that will enable teachers to effectively cater to a wide range of students' needs, fostering a more inclusive and culturally sensitive learning environment. What is AOQTS? Assessment-only qualified teacher status is a pathway to QTS for experienced teachers. Teachers who hold qualified teacher status are eligible to teach in state-maintained and special schools in England and Wales, in the European Union and, depending on school policies, in international and government schools worldwide. Why AOQTS and why now? With teacher recruitment and retention challenges impacting schools, supporting your existing talent pool is more important than ever. Educator Abroad's AOQTS support program enables you to attract, retain and recognize talent-enhanced teaching standards. What we offer, Educators Abroad provides 1. Comprehensive support for candidates throughout the AOQTS application and assessment process. 2. A process tailored to the individual with one-to-one support from a highly experienced supervisor. 3. Minimal time commitment from school leaders. To learn more, go to www.educatorsabroad.org.
Thank you. Right, so in the video, we are working obviously both with teachers and with schools and having that partnership where the schools that you're working within or future schools you'll be working in, we're there to support you as well as support your schools to make sure that anyone who's in the AOQTS program will be able to achieve everything that needs to be achieved with a lot of support from us. And we'll go into more detail about that. But let's look at why should we get international qualifications? Well, even back when I was first looking at and having to decide after my PGCEI, should I get QTS, as I started to look for other jobs, I was realizing that first, a lot of countries which may not have traditionally needed QTS for teachers to get teaching license, the laws were changing and changing fast, and they continue to do so. Also, more and more international schools would like teachers to have an internationally recognized teacher qualification. QTS is recognized globally. And why, you might say, if you have, say, a bachelor's degree in your subject area, well, this is because this is a way that schools can ensure they have fully qualified teachers. They can ensure that teaching standards are kept to the levels that they're expecting. And of course, that the children rightly deserve. So what does it mean for teachers? Well, as it certainly opens up your world, you will find that there will be broader range of countries you can secure roles in. It will increase your chances also of securing those roles, being more attractive to international schools, but it also will lead eventually to higher pay and prospects for promotion to middle and senior leadership. So it's a very, very valuable qualification. QTS, as I said before, it's internationally recognized.
So, what is QTS? It's an internationally recognized qualification granted to teachers who have demonstrated that they have met the required professional standards to be able to teach in the UK. It's a legal requirement for many schools and often leads, as Laura said, to better pay and more diverse career options. So, what is the difference between AOQTS, IPGCE, IQTS, and a PGCE? This is quite complicated. So have a look at the text on the slide, and I will do my best to interpret it. So starting with a PGCE, this is a postgraduate certificate of education. It's typically classroom-based with in-person training and school placements within the UK. Some PGCE courses include QTS, but some do not. So you need to be careful if you are enrolling for one that you check that. It's designed really for those who intend to teach in the UK and requires hands-on experience in UK schools. In contrast, the IPGCE is aimed at international students who wish to teach outside the UK. The IPGCE is often delivered online, and while it provides valuable pedagogical knowledge and skills, it does not automatically confer QTS. So the IQTS is a one-year program which enables you to train to teach in the country where you live and work. It's not automatically considered to be equivalent to QTS, though. And then AOQTS, which is the program that we run at Educators Abroad, is a professional teaching qualification. It's a portfolio-based program aimed at teachers with at least 2 years of experience, but the difference is it can be achieved in a matter of weeks. So, which qualification should I get? A PGCE, if you're new to teaching and are based in the UK, an IPGCE, if you are new to teaching and living abroad, then QTS via an assessment-only route. Or QTS via the assessment-only route if you have at least 2 years teaching experience. Hopefully that clarifies things a little bit, but we can always come back to it in the FAQs and the Q&A at the end. So, what is the Educators Abroad AQTS support programme? Well, we are there with you every step of the way, and I really do mean that. So one once you have been admitted, it's my job to allocate a supervisor to you, and I try and match you really well. So your personality, your background, the correct age group, things like that. So we'll arrange an initial Zoom meeting or Teams or Google Meet or whatever platform you prefer with your assigned supervisor. You will have regular contact with your supervisor as you build your portfolio. So that might be every week, it might be fortnightly, but that will normally be through email. You will also have a school-based mentor who will do your observations. So we're looking for 4 observations over a number of weeks. The person who supports you with your application to AOQTS is a good person to decide who your school mentor should be, but it's normally somebody with QTS themselves or your line manager or a senior leader. At EA, we will carry out 1 external observation, and that is usually done online or via a video link, a video if our time zones aren't matched up. You'll have access to a bank of online resources, and you'll also be given examples of evidence if you need that and if you're struggling to write about any particular teacher standard. And then you will have ongoing support leading right up to the point where we submit you for your assessment.
So we are often asked a lot of questions about this program, and we're hoping you as well will have a lot of questions that we can answer, of course. And it's really, am I eligible to apply? And in all of the candidates we've worked with, I think it's nearly 200 now, Lindsay, if I think I'm correct, globally, every situation is unique. And what is unique about Educators Abroad is we work with you as if we were sort of personalized consultants and understanding your situation and really trying to support you to be able for you to go through the program. However, some entry criteria are not necessarily negotiable. These are not criteria that are established by Educators Abroad, but rather the Department for Education in England. So you need to have a bachelor's degree. It can be a bachelor's degree in any subject. And you have to have GCSEs or the equivalent. So GCSEs are the secondary qualifications in England. And if you are a primary teacher, you will need to show them in maths, science, and English. And if you're a secondary teacher, it would be maths and English. Now, a lot of our candidates haven't earned their degrees in the UK. I was one. My degree was not from the UK. So it then has to go through equivalency testing as well as the GCSEs that you may have taken in your home country. This is not a complex process. It's actually quite simple. We provide all the information to you about how you need to go about doing that. It's not expensive either. And usually, most of our candidates, most of the time, their degrees are deemed equivalent, and the process takes about 2 weeks. Then we have the question of at least 2 schools. I believe a lot of Teacher Horizons candidates already have 2 school experiences, although maybe some who are in their first school. That is where, if you're a candidate who's just taught at 1 school, we then work with you to determine how we can go about getting you a second school experience, which doesn't necessarily have to be years. It could be a matter of weeks where you're actually gaining or having, if you want to say, a teaching practice in another school where you're adding to your portfolio of evidence against the teaching standards that come from England. And we work with the candidates to try to find solutions to that. And we're often very successful in being able to do that. The third, what we would need to see if you're eligible is a letter of support from your current school. We provide the template for what information needs to go into that, but it's essentially saying that your head of school or a senior leader in your school is supporting you for you to obtain your QTS via the assessment only route. And so that's really what we need to see to determine whether or not you're eligible to apply for the program. And also when you're registering and applying, we'll also just need to see a copy of your CV because we want to thoroughly understand your experience and how to best support you.
So, what does the program involve? You are required to create a portfolio of up to 70 pages long, which contains all the evidence that you need to meet the requirements of the Department for Education in England's teachers' standards. This is done in a Word document or a Google document. Then your in-school mentor will do 4 lesson observations while you are partaking in the program. If you have a lesson observation from another school, a second school, that is a good bit of evidence as well. And then you'll have your external observation from your supervisor or another member of the team at Educators Abroad. Submission of your portfolio and other documents, that includes things like your CV, a recent police check, supporting letters from your school, and your proficiency in maths and English as well.
So what makes our support program quite unique? And we know it's unique and we're quite proud about it. It's a relationship with the teachers that we work with and the degree of support that we give them. So if that's us, the candidate in the middle, and I'm going to speak to when I went through the AOQTS process, I had an EA supervisor, highly experienced, former head of school, and he was with me every single step of the way. And this is what we're hearing from our candidates as well. And he guided me through the process because at first I was thinking, well, there's a lot of standards there and there's a lot of evidence to accumulate in a portfolio, but it was much simpler than I thought it was going to be. And also, I'll just wait for the slide to come back. Thank you. And also, with the guidance I received from my supervisor meant I didn't need much time from my in-school mentor. My in-school mentor just conducted the observations and gave me feedback. And that's also the observation feedback and observations, you use them to contribute to your portfolio. And this is genuinely unique to EA, having that one-to-one supervision and that guidance. And we pride ourselves on our 100% pass rate. But I would say what really gets us to this 100% pass rate year after year, candidate after candidate, is that fantastic one-to-one support that candidates receive from their supervisor.
So what goes into your portfolio? I've touched on this briefly already. So the first part is your personal and school information. So it's a profile of your current school and your second school experience and your role within that school and your responsibilities. As I said, we need details of your proficiency in maths and English and how you use these in your teaching role. And then in that part, we also have a reflective piece about your subject knowledge and pedagogical approach. The second part, part 2, is where your lesson observations go. So you have your 4 lesson observations and you include your planning in that and then your reflection on how the lesson went. And then finally, the third part is where you take each of the 9 teachers' standards and you write about how you fulfill that standard. So you're using real evidence in your approach to that, whether it be behaviour management or assessment, how you ensure children make progress, all of those things. And you do that. So that's script, and it can be photos, it can be screenshots of emails from colleagues or parents, So there are lots of different ways of providing evidence for that part, and you will build that up over time.
Right. So now we get down to the all-important matter of costs. And when we're talking about costs, it's bearing in mind that you've got a one-to-one supervisor and that the amount includes your, it's all inclusive, the £3,600. But let me tell you what you get for that. So you get the personalized approach and support for the development of your portfolio from the 12 months from the date of admission to the program. This is something else that's quite unique about us, that we give you a 12-month window because other providers may give a significantly shorter period of time. And we believe the 12 months is important. It gives you the scope to determine your schedule because we know in different parts of the teaching year, there are more time-intensive demands being placed on our daily work, whether assessment time or reporting time. So you can navigate your way through those 12 months in terms of what you're going to work on in your portfolio and when, and scheduling your observations. It's really an at your own pace, providing the portfolio is fully developed prior to the end of those 12 months. We also prepare you for the final assessment that is provided by a university, a partner of ours. Now, it's not going to be like a sit-down written test or anything like that. It's basically, and Lindsay might want to, because this questions candidate has to expand, is that your portfolio would have been reviewed to the point that we're confident that it's going to pass through the assessment of the university where they do look at that portfolio. And back in the day when I was doing QTS, I actually was interviewed by the university assessor. But Lindsay, that is not so frequent the case now, is it?
No, I haven't had one candidate interviewed in the year or so that I've been putting candidates through for assessment. So I think it's very rare now.
Right. So you don't need to think about the assessment as something quite daunting. By the time you get to assessment, you've done all the hard work. So just to be rest assured of that. And then the university will make a recommendation that you gain QTS and then you receive an email from the Department for Education with a link to your QTS certificate and your teacher registration number, and therefore you are then a fully qualified teacher in the UK. And I can't tell you enough how wonderful that feels when that email comes and you see your certificate in front of you. So the current charge is £3,600. There's no hidden cost, there's no extras. That is what it is. So once you registering and applying is free. And during that process, we're prepared to give you as much support and guidance during the registration application. And then once you're admitted into the program, accepted into the program, we will then ask for the first installment of £2,000. As soon as that is paid, we move immediately. We get to meet your supervisor and you begin to work on the development of your portfolio. And it's not until just before your final assessment that the balance is due. So that is how we work. So I think we can go to the next slide. Now, we do have hundreds of, a few hundred graduates, and everyone has had such a wonderful story. And we've just chosen these two ladies because they're fairly recent graduates. And I actually popped in to meet Andrea I'm in Milan, the British School of Milan, and it was just delightful to see how much she's enjoying. She's just about ready to finish the program. So if we could play the audio, Fiona, where she can tell us how she's feeling about the AOQTS program.
No problem. Just bear with me one moment. It's on a separate,
Sure.
so I hope everybody can hear.
Well, I decided to get QTS because it could open up new professional opportunities and possibilities for working in other countries, for example. But more importantly, I saw it as a chance to further develop my teaching practice, constantly reflecting on the teacher's standards and applying them in my work has encouraged me to become even more reflective as an educator. It has been an intense but incredibly rewarding experience. And I have found the assessment only process with Educators Abroad to be very straightforward, and this is something that I really appreciate. I had spoken to other providers before, but I didn't receive clear information. So finally, when I found Educators Abroad, I was really happy. Everything has been clear right from the start, and I really appreciate it. Everyone has been so kind and supportive, and I'm really, really enjoying the process with them.
Thank you. And yeah, she's this candidate, she's from Brazil. Absolutely delightful candidate, a music teacher as well. And Antonella is from Italy, and she shared lots of feedback. In fact, we did a video testimonial, but this was an excerpt from hers. And she says, "My experience with Educators Abroad was very rewarding, and I learned a lot. I received a lot of encouragement, and the feedback was very specific. EA supervisors are very experienced and know the principles of teaching very well. I recommend EA because it is good value for money, and the flexibility, support, and expertise provided was excellent." So we are very proud of our graduates. We're immensely proud of our graduates. And we follow them along the way into their futures, and they do keep in touch. And some very exciting things have happened for them career-wise once they graduated. Next slide. Right, so time for Q&A. Kathy, are you or Fiona going to lead the Q&A?
Yes, we will. So thank you so much again for the presentation. I learned a lot of new things as well, and there was a lot of details there that can be confusing sometimes. So it's really good to try to understand, right? This is just the beginning. I'm sure people have questions, and that's where we'll clarify more. But thanks so much. It was very valuable. So actually, I started making a list. I'm trying to look at the spotlights. I started to make a list of questions that have been asked already during the presentation. And Fiona, if you can also help and have a look at the questions that will come in now. So this is the time for everyone to start asking your questions. You can put them on chat, and we will try our best to, I'll say the questions out loud for Laura and Lindsay, and they'll try their best to answer the questions. So here we go. The first one is, can you get IQTS without PGCE or IPGCE?
Do you want me to go on that one, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Well, this is becoming an interesting and evolving area. And everything based on what I've read, and of course, you always should check, the IQTS is really PGCEI, so PGCE done internationally. So it's about a 9 or 10-month program where you're getting teacher training. I think this is the main thing to distinguish, that the PGCEI, the PGCE is UK based. That's teacher training. That's if you've not had any prior experience. And then if you do, say, a PGCE that has the IQTS, yes, the IQTS is tagged onto that PGCE, but it's really, IQTS is really a full-blown teacher training program for teachers who don't have any prior teaching experience. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Another one, this is a bit generic, but I think it's still appropriate. It says, is this beneficial for school counselors as well? I'm not sure what this means, but I'm assuming QTS or the qualification.
I think it would depend whether that person had a bachelor's degree and some teaching experience. So I think it would depend what their motive was for wanting to do it. If they want to go into teaching, definitely, and they've got the right qualifications.
I might
Thank
add
you.
to that, if I may, very quickly too, when what Lindsay's saying is, it was recently someone who is a counselor, but because they didn't have an internationally internationally recognized qualification, whether or not they were teaching, the school still wanted them to have a proper teaching license. So I guess, like Lindsay said, it depends if they're going to teach, but it might also depend on what kind of a school they're going to go to, because the school felt it would demonstrate that they had solid curriculum knowledge for the children that they would be supporting. And that's quite a unique situation, but it can happen.
Great, thank you. Another question is about, so this is someone who said, I have my PGCE degree in geography and life orientation with 6 years experience. I'm just confused as to whether or not my PGCE degree does include QTS.
It would depend where, if you did the PGCE in the UK, you may have QTS, but you would have a teacher reference number and a certificate and a letter from the Department of Education. So you would know if you had QTS.
Is there some place where they should check if they don't know? Like, how can they find out?
Yes, well, the Department for Education would be able to help in the UK.
Okay. I'm just checking my list, maybe just one or two. I hold a QTS certificate and have ECCTIS recognition. Do I still need to complete a PGCE program?
No.
Yeah.
That's a nice, easy one.
Yes.
The last one on my list, and then we can see some of the more recent ones. There's quite a few. I think the question is put in a way, do you place into a school if we are presently not in a school? But I think what they're trying to ask is more clarification on your services. Like, what I understand from this question is, do you help with finding jobs and opportunities in schools as well, or mainly qualification? I think it's good to clarify that.
Yeah, we do not help to place. I mean, the Teacher Horizons would be the
Yes.
ones to go to once you've had your QTS, or even currently, to have place in jobs. No, but if the question is, if I only have a first school experience and I'm looking to have a second school experience, which would be a matter of a teaching practice, sometimes we can assist with that. Am I right, Lindsay? I mean, we have found some teaching practices for teachers in different locations.
Yes, it just depends on the circumstances. But again, we would talk to your school-based mentor and see whether you could be released from school an afternoon a week or something like that, and whether there was a local school that would have you to do that practice.
Great, thank you. And as Laura said, just wanting to reiterate, like once you do have the right qualifications, then yeah, just sign up to Teacher Horizons if you haven't done that yet, and that's where you'll find your international teaching jobs. So that was my list. Fiona, any of the current ones that you would like to share?
Quite a few still coming in now. A couple have asked about getting a master's in education. So although this is a separate qualification, it might, complement the other one, but would it be beneficial to do something like this before the QTS route or after?
I can answer that, Lindsay, having had, because I had a PGCEI and a Master of Education, and very sadly, the Master of Education did not help. So I think that getting fully qualified should be the first priority. I mean, it depends on the person's career aspirations and the reasons and the purposes, of course. But if we're talking about, is the Master in Education going to help with my QTS? The answer to that is no. So it would be best to get the QTS and then pursue the Masters of Education thereafter.
Perfect, thank you. Another question that we've just had is, can you complete the AOQTS in less than a year?
Yes. Yes. I think the quickest we've had was someone who did it in 5 weeks. So they had the Christmas break and then did their lesson observations 1 a week. Yeah, and just absolutely worked the socks off and got it done. Yeah, they were working really, really hard, but they did it in 5 weeks.
Also, I'll just add that we've had quite a few candidates at the moment who are applying and registering, and they're saying, I'm also looking for a job in a school for next academic year. And they're starting now in January. Do you think I'll be fully qualified by June? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And that's what that's why I said about the 12-month. If you want to start now and you want to make sure you're fully qualified by May or June, you just let your supervisor know that. And that's how you work through together to make sure that it will happen. And I've got one who thought he was going to take till June, one of my candidates supervising too. And it looks like February he will be ready to go on his final assessment. So again, your pace.
Mm.
It's up to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We also have a question about curricula. So if does somebody need to be working at a school with the UK, so the English curriculum?
I can, Lindsay, do you and I can?
You go ahead.
Yeah. Right. So no, well, let's define. I mean, it's been really nice lately that there's some more options. So if you are a primary school teacher, you can be in an American curriculum school, course, preferably English National Curriculum, Cambridge Curriculum, PYP from the International Baccalaureate Curriculum. One of my candidates, he's in the PYP, and that worked absolutely fine. And then if you're secondary, I think all of the above do apply, with the exception of the American curriculum, because there's a diversion in secondary with the American curriculum that it's just too different to an English national curriculum or a school where the DFE recognizes that is a British curriculum. So if you're a secondary teacher in an American curriculum, no, it would be quite challenging. But other than that, I think Canadian is also okay. I think I've covered it, Lindsay, have I?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. I'm just having a look. There's another question about your supervisor in the school. So if there isn't someone physically in the school, how does this work? How are they able to supervise?
So the supervisor is a member of the Educators Abroad team. So we appoint them to work with you. You have a school-based mentor.
Yeah.
So is the question about the mentor, do you think?
Well, we've had a couple of questions. This one doesn't specify, but some people were wondering what if the mentor doesn't have QTS, or what if they can't find someone suitable as well?
It just needs to be somebody who you look up to as a really good teacher. So we don't insist on QTS, but it has to be somebody with at least the a sort of parallel equivalent to QTS. So somebody who understands the teacher standards and knows what they look like and can support you to achieve them.
Lovely, thank you. Kavi, what do you reckon? More time on questions, or should we move forward?
I think we can do 2 to 3 more questions, and I did pick some. So first of all, thank you so much for all the questions. This is fantastic. Like, we have over 200 attendees today, and so like almost 100 questions already. So keep your questions coming in, and there's some really good questions because it's a nice platform for you to ask. So we also appreciate that you're asking all these detailed, whether it's situation specific or generic, and so everyone else can get help from that too. So one of the ones I found interesting was, I was a certified teacher in the US, but my teaching license expired. Do I still need to obtain QTS?
I think this comes down to where the person currently is. So if they are in America and their teaching license is expired, then obviously they would look for a way to renew that teaching license. There'd have to be questions about why would a teacher with an American teaching license want to pursue QTS? And there are some who do and who can, particularly if they're teaching in one of the curriculum related schools that I had mentioned. So that's kind of that's more of a blurred line. Like, we'd have to know more about the personal circumstances of that individual to be able to really guide them and help them to decide which way is the best way to go.
Right. This one should be an easy one. I'm very, very interested in doing the AOQTS. How do I apply?
Oh, well, Kavi, I think have we got a post-webinar letter with my email on it as a point of contact? Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so I believe, okay, so then basically you have some options in the interim. You can go to our website, and we've given you www.educatorsabroad.org. I believe that will be in the letter after the webinar as well. And then you go to the assessment only QTS program overview, where you'll see a lovely video with Lindsay in it, so you'll know it's us. And there's lots and lots of information there, including a very detailed FAQ section with drop downs. You don't have to read through all of that. You can just drop down menu to find answers to your questions. And then if you're interested, you can click to register, and then the process begins. If once you, and I would really strongly encourage you, you're more than welcome to email me and contact me, and I'm happy to talk to as many people who email me. However, perhaps prior to emailing me, please do have a really good look at the website, because then the level of questions you may have will be, a bit more specific to your situation. And then I can give you more detailed information to support you. And then once you register, my colleague John and I, we always get a notification who's registering. And then we reach out to basically say, hello, we know you're registering, and to see if you have questions and to help you along. So those would be the initial steps.
Great, thank you.
Sorry,
Another one is,
I just
yes.
wanted to add quickly as well that when that
Yes.
email does come out, we will be sharing a recording of the webinar, because quite a few people have asked.
Yes, great. Yeah, and the follow-up email will have Laura's contact and also link to Educators Abroad website, so it'll be nicely laid out for you to just go through all of that in your own time. Another question is QTS necessary to teach internationally in different countries?
I can get that one. Not all countries, right? But it's changing so fast. I can give you two examples. When I went to go teach and I had QTS, but 2017 or 2018 in Hong Kong. It was around that time. QTS was not a requirement to teach in Hong Kong to get a teaching license from the government. It now is. Egypt didn't require it. Egypt is now asking for it. So it's two sides of the coin here. One is that more and more schools would like teachers to have it, because fee-paying parents want to make sure that there are fully qualified teachers in schools. The other side of the coin is that more and more governments that traditionally are happy to give teaching license without QTS, a lot of them are no longer happy to do that. So what happens is the world starts to shrink for teachers who are unqualified. It starts to shrink. And so if you want to make sure that you have the ability to go just about anywhere in the world that you want to, without worrying whether or not your teaching license is going to be obtained so you can live and work in that country, I would strongly recommend you get QTS.
Thank you. Another one is, do I have to be in the UK or it could be online?
You absolutely, well, that's the assessment only route. No, our candidates, we do have a separate program for England. That's only if you're in England. For everyone else who's joined us today, presuming nobody's sitting in England at the moment, no, you can be absolutely anywhere in the world. That's the joy of it. You're working on an online medium with your supervisor, and then you've got your school mentor in your school locally. So we have 96, is it 50 countries? We're just all over the world right now, and it keeps going up, which I can't remember the last figure, but we're working with candidates from all over the world.
Great. Thank you so much. Lots of great questions and really good insights from Laura and Lindsay. We appreciate it.